Hey, Joseph and Snakes of Russia here. Have a brand new instrument out with mantra called Tenebrae. I made a track with it called Extol, and here's a little walkthrough. So this is created entirely with the Tenebrae instrument with a little bit of processing, all in Ableton with Ableton stock devices, which shows you that what you can do with just, you know, this would apply to any DAW. I feel that you don't need crazy expensive plugins to kind of get what you want out of this library. And most of it is really just EQ, compression, and a little bit of transient design, especially on the drum stuff. So starting with the drums, we have our drum group here, which sounds like this. And our kick group here. And that's comprised of a few kicks that I stacked on top of one another, all instances of the Tenebrae percussion. Here's the first one that I actually printed with some hardware Bucket Brigade delay. So that sounds like this. And then we have this one. And again, just using some transient design from the drum bus plugin from Ableton here. But again, this is something you could do in any DAW with just some basic compression, some saturation and stuff. And then finally, this third kick here. And I pretty much have just kept the sound as it is inside of the library. Maybe sometimes I'm adding a little extra global effects here. I have my bespoke plugin for the Tenebrae instrument here, and I just maybe tweak a little bit of those parameters like the drive if I wanted a little more mellow for this layer. Yeah, then EQ them everything together, compress them a little bit, and then they're in this kick group here. Then the next section is our snare group here, which is comprised of this guy, another one of the Tenebrae percussion instruments with a little hybrid reverb from Ableton on there. A lot of times I use a separate reverb because I just had the global effects maxed out on the patch. So the reverb inside the Mandala 2 player is exceptional, and I use it all over this demo. But essentially, if I run out, I turn to some stock Ableton reverbs here, and in this case I'm using the hybrid reverb here because I like the convolution engine. Second snare sound is this. Then we have kind of a third fill accent snare here. Another one of the percussion sounds here through a transient designer here in the Ableton drum bus, a little bit of bandpass here, and then some of the hybrid reverb again, just to give it some field here to play in. Then we have this percussion section here. So this main percussion loop is basically this loop from Tenebrae. Then I have it through some drum bus processing and sidechained here to my kit with some more EQ and some filter. It's kind of reacting with the rest of the drum group here. For my second percussion bit, I have this other loop, which is here. I have one of the layers muted. One of the great things about Tenebrae is you can bring in and out the layers through the axis expressions. In this case, I just wanted this to be strictly rhythmic and not melodic at all. So I have an extra lo-fi delay on this one just to give it a little more tail here. Then we have this accent here, which is just kind of at the end of every few bars, which is another percussion element here, one of the higher ones. And I have this Haas effect here that I added on to the global effects. Then we go to our hats here, which is essentially just one of the percussion instruments. I have it pulled up on this whole percussion kit here where you have all of the percussion elements laid out on a keyboard. It just makes it easier. It's kind of like a menu so you can check it out and see what works best. But in the sampler here, I just have the envelope messed with, so it's just kind of a really short sounding decay and release so that it's more like a hi-hat. That's really what the sound sounds like on its own, but if we pull down the decay, we can get some really short percussion sounds that could pass as hi-hats. And then ultimately what I did was I took that stem, the whole drum stem, I resampled it here in Ableton and then threw a filter on it, and then we have this little intro bit here. Great. So, I mean, what I love to do with this or any instrument really is kind of like grab audio and mess with that and mess with the pitch and just kind of go crazy with it. There are no rules. You don't need to keep it as MIDI as the instrument. Literally just take it out of the box and bring it back in again, or bounce it to audio, pitch change it, anything goes. So here's my bass, low end section, which is comprised of this sub. And then this dirty bass here. Which is this marble fist patch. And then I also, in my automation, I have a bit of the axis is being automated here. So if you listen here, it's at the bottom of the axis. And then when the song kind of drops here, it gets bigger. And we're just doing that by controlling the X axis here, which we could do manually, or you can write in the automation, which I've chose to do here. So then we have our synth section. Which starts with this bit of a sequence here that runs throughout the track, which is mostly comprised of this patch here, called Gray Mares in the pulse section. I just have some EQ on it and a filter that with the automation kind of opens up and closes as the song progresses. And then in the last section of the song, I have this higher octave up sequence, which is this patch. Which is this preset called Cold Lines. Didn't use the sequencer within the preset, so I'm using the arpeggiator in Ableton. Again, please just take these and have your way with them and do whatever. Sequence them, arpeggiate them, pitch them, destroy them. Next we have this little accent bend here, which is this God's Cab preset. Just adds a little bit of accent to this section. And then probably my favorite patch of the song is this. Which is this preset here. The name of the preset is the tip of the hat to one of my favorite bands. I'll let you all guess what that is. But yeah, basically I have this kind of outlining the bass line a little bit and kind of coming in like maybe a guitar would. Then we have this intro pad that kind of runs throughout the whole track. I have the max LFO here, just kind of doing some very, very slow movement on the X axis here. Again, a good use of, we could play this in manually, or we could use some of our other tools here and make it a bit more interesting. So this is the Bloodthorne patch here that's in our pad section. So we have that kind of running throughout the track. Then we have our lead sound here, which does an octave up. And that's just this preset here with a little extra convolution reverb, some Ableton compressor, some EQ, and some gain automation here. And then we have these accent swells here that we throw in every once in a while. The drones are great if you want to hold them down for the duration of the track, kind of slow movement and have it evolve, but they're also great for these little accents here, just these little swells. For this one, I think I played in some movement with the axis here just to give it some movement. Really makes stuff feel alive. Then we have kind of this outro little riser here with some gain automation. Which is actually one of the pulses that I actually muted the rhythmic elements of, because I really like how this top layer, the melodic layer, is sitting. So we have that and just kind of gain automated. And then, yeah, lastly, we have just another sweep here, which is one of our effects patches here. And that's about it. Well, that was fun. I hope this inspires you to use Tenebrae in really creative ways. Kind of do your own thing with it, make it yours. These sounds are great to add some character to your score or production or whatever you're working on. But again, I really stress making it your thing and doing things like bouncing audio and keeping things in the box. Use effects and take them out of the box. This is meant to be a palette that you can have fun with and be creative with and express yourself. So thanks a lot, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Take care.